All right, well, we'll move from the desert into the coming Red Sea, the Red Sea of redemptive mercy. This leads us to the final scene of the Exodus, which provides a polarizing image unprecedented in the history of storytelling and history itself. In Exodus 14 here, Moses raising his staff before the Red Sea as the water splits open, wide open before the quivering sons of Israel. To be fully struck with the glory of their redemption, the Israelites simply need to turn around and gaze on the terror of the faces of their oppressors. That's it. Just look who's coming for you.
You want to see God's glory? You want to see what God is doing? You're on dry land. Turn around after you get over and see what's happening to the folks that are coming after you. Right?
Here's a big word picture for you. Yeah. Then they must consider that were it not for the free mercy of God, the watery cataclysm would be crushing them as well. Deuteronomy 15:15. And remember who also went out with them, some of the Egyptians. How did they get saved? How did they get brought in? Because they believed on the mercies of God. And is it because they were more holy? Because they were more spider sense to who God is? No. It just says and because of God's mercy of this plague, He was able to lead some of them out as well. So Noah's ark has been made of wood and rode on top of the waves of wrath. And their ark, the Israelites' ark at this time at the Red Sea, was made of sand and cut a path through the waves of wrath. Right. Very cool.
And mercy, yeah. So Christensen tells us that John Piper summarizes Paul's, theosophical purpose. He says that God's chief end in creation and redemption is to display for the benefit of his elect the fullness of his glory, especially his mercy. The brilliant diamond of divine mercy is magnified, Christensen tells us, against the dark, black backdrop of divine justice. And so neither attribute, he says, would find occasion for display unless God ordered evil to overtake his creation, right? So evil is there so that this can happen, right? And so again, he's getting back to his, his defense of his greater glory theodicy,
right? So apart from a creation and the subsequent fall of creation, God has no opportunity to display justice or mercy.
Right. In other words, why would God need to display justice or mercy, right? Apart from the fall, creation and fall, right? And so this allows God to display that portion of his character and therefore that portion of his glory,
right? This isn't something he learns. He is just. He is merciful, and he shows this. And there's the key, the showing in the creation and the fall. Yep. Yeah. There's certainly no need to display these attributes among members of the immanent, the ontological Trinity. In eternity past, from our perspective, such divine attributes lie dormant. They exist, they're there, but they don't need to be turned on.
Right.
Nonetheless, every evil that exists in the created order is explained in one way or another in relation to God's justice or mercy. A universe without evil would be a universe without divine justice or forgiveness.
Boy, that is amazing, isn't it? So if there's no evil there, then there is no justice, there is no forgiveness, there is no mercy, because there's no need for that to be displayed.
Right. And Adam and Eve don't fall. They continue on. They expand the Garden of Eden out to the world, and God goes, "Well, I'm just and merciful," and they go, "Okay, yep." I don't know what that means, but
yeah,
we believe you.
Yeah,
look at all you've done and accomplished. So yeah, it's a weird thing to say. Well, thank goodness for the evil that happens, because we can see the even more the story of God played out here. Once God freely decided to magnify his glory in creation, he had ordered the fall.
Yeah, exactly. And then he quotes John MacArthur, who makes this same point, actually. He says, God demonstrates his attributes for the sake of his own glory. Without sin, God's wrath would never be on display. Without sinners to redeem, God's grace would never be on display. Without evil to punish, God's justice would never be on display. And he has every right to put himself everlastingly on display in all the glory of his attributes, right? That's what John MacArthur tells us. And so it is the work of redemption that uniquely encompasses the full display of divine attributes in a way that the singling out of God's wrath and justice in acts of judgment alone does not reveal.
Right. Yeah, and even if he did not save anybody, if he judged, okay, there's one aspect, but how does he show that he's also merciful? He saves some. Right, so God's maximal discriminating love. Oh, so discrimination. Notice how God's love is both a maximalizing and a discriminating love in this theodicy of redemption. Many theologians and philosophers who wish to rescue God's omnibenevolence, his all goodness in the face of the problem of evil, assumes that if God is truly all-loving, then his love must extend to all equally. But this is clearly not the case, as we see in Romans 9, especially verse 13. Why? Well, because there's evil in the world. That's why he doesn't save everybody.
All right. So God did not prevent the Egyptians from enslaving and brutalizing even his own chosen people, the Israelites. God did not prevent Judas from betraying Christ, nor did he prevent the acts of any of the other participants who brought about Christ's death. He ordained their actions so that redemption, right, and redemptive good would overflow to countless objects of his mercy, right? In other words, Christ had to go through this so that we might receive mercy. This unique display of divine love and goodness could, Christensen tells us, ironically, happen only through his enemies' acts of evil, right? Their hatred, their despising of neighborly love, all allows God to display his glory, his mercy, his grace to us.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And when we get to the New Testament and John here, we'll kind of focus on that a lot more and see kind of against the backdrop how impressive that is.